This is the Apple Watch Series 9, and if you're in the market for a smartwatch, it's hard to find anything that comes close to this model. I bought the Series 9 as soon as it was announced in September, and I've been using it ever since. This past week, I've also been wearing the Google Pixel Watch 2 quite a bit, and previously I used the Series 6 for a few years, so that's given me somewhat of a unique perspective on what makes this watch great, without just comparing it to last year's version. Today, I want to get into what not only makes the Series 9 a fantastic device, but also some areas where it could improve, and just in general why the Apple Watch is the king when it comes to smartwatches. So if you're looking to move over to an Apple Watch, or maybe you're considering upgrading the one you have, stick around and let's get into it. Hey everyone, Kyle Erickson here. The Apple Watch Series 9 came out exactly 1 month ago, and this was the first real watch that I felt like I could justify moving up from my Series 6 for. The previous couple years had seen relatively small upgrades in performance with essentially the same rebranded chipset, but this year that was finally upgraded, and combined with the slow death of my Series 6 battery, gave me the perfect excuse to pick one up. The model that I have here today is the 45mm version. It's Starlight in color and has the Nike Sport Loop watch band. I wanted Starlight and this band in particular because I felt like it paired really well with my natural titanium iPhone 15 Pro, and with a new Nike Globe watch face, I think it looks great. The odd time I'll wear my watch in the shower or submerge it in water, so I was a little concerned with the band getting wet, but it actually dries quite fast, and I was curious about the strap being like a Velcro material. Sometimes with Velcro you can get a buildup of worn out material or pilling, and it doesn't work as well when that happens, but so far so good on that front. What I like about this style of strap is it is a lot more comfortable than the rubber or leather ones, and it's super easy to adjust, say if I'm out on a run and I want to tighten it up. Outside of that, it's pretty much the same design as it's always been, which I think as watchOS gets more advanced, seems to make more and more sense. Like I said earlier, I've been using the Pixel Watch 2 for the past week or so, and I think the design of that watch is fine. It's light, comfortable, it looks decent, but I don't know, something about a round screen just feels wrong. I don't know that anyone has really figured out round screens on watches yet. It just feels like something is always getting cut off or it doesn't look quite right. And where we're used to seeing everything on a rectangular screen, it just feels like it's trying to force a square peg through a round hole. Just speaking of screens, the Series 9 still has the same thin bezels as the previous couple generations, but it got a big update this year, doubling the brightness to 2000 nits. And on the flip side, being able to go all the way down to 1 nit. I was really excited about this update because previously, if I was in direct sunlight looking at my watch face, it wasn't always clear, which is the same issue that I have on most watches, but this definitely gets brighter and is a lot more visible in those scenarios. It's also a little bit brighter if you're using it as a flashlight too, which can be quite handy at times. As far as the display being able to go down to 1 nit, it was previously able to drop down to about 2, which might not seem like a big deal, but in cases like powering the always on display at night, it will conserve a little more battery life. In regards to the battery, Apple says that the Series 9 will give you 18 hours of battery life, or 36, I believe, in low power mode. And this is one area where Apple is usually pretty conservative in their estimates. In real world use, I get just over 30 hours battery life with regular usage, including sleeping with it, and about a 45-minute workout mixed in there without low power mode on. Just keep in mind, I'm not using it to play music or take calls or anything like that usually, which will drain it a lot faster. Also, because it does last well over a day, I'd prefer if it had the same 80% charge limit that the iPhone 15 has. Right now, you can toggle optimized charging from the battery health settings, but I find it generally always charges to 100%, probably because I don't charge overnight or anything, and if Apple were to limit that to 80%, I likely wouldn't even notice, and it would extend my battery health over a longer time span. That battery powers the all-new S9 chip that has a 30% faster GPU and 2 times faster neural engine, which, looking at those specs, don't really make a huge difference. Navigating around on your Apple Watch, you're not going to notice any difference with normal operation, but it does enable some new features on the software side of things. The improved neural engine enables a lot more functionality to sit on the watch itself, like an offline Siri and the new double tap feature. As far as Siri goes, you can now do very basic things like setting timers or asking health questions without an internet connection, or without it having to hit the cloud first and come back with an answer. Even when you do just run a standard query with Siri, that sounds so stupid. It seems faster, and the actual dictation is much more accurate and reliable. And as a whole, Siri just feels like it's improved a bit on the Apple Watch. When it comes to the double tap feature, depending on when you watch this, that may not be available in a public release yet outside of the beta versions, but that is coming very soon. I've just installed the beta for now just to get a sense for how well this works, and I do find it quite helpful at times. I can use that to cycle through my widgets, pause and play tracks, answer and hang up calls, or application-specific stuff like taking a photo. Some people have brought up that this already exists on the Apple Watch in the form of assistive touch, where if you navigate through your settings under accessibility, you can enable custom gestures. And while it does appear to be similar on the surface, the way it works is actually quite different. Beyond double tap being enabled by default, unlike assistive touch, it works by using the neural engine with a completely new algorithm on the S9 chip, where assistive touch uses a CPU, and double tap uses less battery than assistive touch and is much more accurate as well. Where assistive touch could be hit or miss at times, double tap seems to work every time, and the only catch is that you can't just double tap with your hand at your side. You have to physically raise your watch up and pinch. I found this to be really useful for one-handed use, say if you're busy doing something and you don't have two hands free and you need to pause something or answer a call. There's some customization available in terms of how it handles music or if it will scroll through widgets in the Smart Stack, which is new with watchOS 10 and I'll touch on in a minute. But overall, having that added functionality can be extremely useful. So the S9 enables all that, but it's not the only new hardware in here. There's a new ultra-wideband chip in the Series 9 and the Ultra 2 watches that enables precision finding, and that works with the new iPhone lineup from this year, where if I go into my control center and click the little phone icon there, it will tell me where my phone is, similar to how AirTags work. The big difference here is there's a much longer range than previous precision finding devices. This will read up to about 100 feet away, and if you're someone like me who misplaces your stuff a lot, this is bound to get used from time to time. This, along with most of the features that I've been talking about, will only be coming to the Series 9 and Ultra 2 watches because of the new hardware, but watchOS 10 should be available for everyone with the Series 4 watch and later, and I think that's really the biggest thing that I noticed on my watch this year. I did a video going over watchOS 10 a while back, just because it is quite a departure from the previous version. I'll just link that video in the description rather than diving into every aspect of it. But everything feels and looks so much better on watchOS 10 over previous versions. You have the new Smart Stack, which is basically just a stack of widgets that you can customize that give you a nice visual look at something at a glance. There's a lot of blurred translucent backgrounds similar to iOS, and full screen views like in the Fitness app where there's a lot more information present. The Maps app has been updated with actual viewable maps, and if you live in the US, those have topology, and in general, it feels like the watch relies less on my phone, which is something that I noticed I was probably taking for granted after using the Pixel Watch 2. Don't get me wrong, the Pixel Watch does a good job at offering similar functionality in a lot of ways, but the amount of times it tells me to open up my phone to continue to do something is far greater than on the Apple Watch. And while I think that Wear OS and the devices that work with it are getting better every year, there's just nothing that compares to watchOS in my opinion. watchOS looks great, it's easy to navigate around, and there's multiple ways that I can reply to messages or view content, and every year seems to become a little more independent or less reliant on my phone. One area where I think the Pixel Watch does compete and maybe even bests the Apple Watch this year in some aspects is with fitness and health. I think it's quite proficient with a lot of that stuff, with Google integrating Fitbit so much into the watch. I find sleep tracking to be very similar between these watches, but I might give a slight edge to the Pixel Watch 2 here. I find it logs the times that I wake up a little bit better, and I obviously have no way of knowing how accurate either of these are with sleep cycles, but the difference is probably trivial nonetheless. They both log workouts just fine and give similar results. The Series 9 has improved heart rate tracking over last year's model, as does the Pixel Watch 2. There's supposed to be improved GPS accuracy in the Series 9 as well, but honestly, that's not something that I ever personally use. If you live or work in a large city and you have a lot of tall buildings around you, and maybe you're trying to log your runs or something, that might be of value to you, but if you're just in open space, you're probably not going to notice a huge difference from previous years. And frankly, I just think that in terms of generally using the watch, the Series 9 isn't going to feel all that different from the last couple of generations. Those are all going to get watchOS 10, so unless you really want some of the new features like double tap or offline Siri, or if you're like I was and your battery is toast, it might be worth hanging on to what you have. I do want to mention, I notice a lot of people struggling with battery life that have upgraded to watchOS 10 from older models. When I updated the Series 9 to the beta version. I saw a fix listed for battery life when I was reading release notes. So if that is affecting you, just keep a lookout for updates and update when you can, and hopefully that will alleviate some of those issues. That being said, given the alternatives that currently exist, I still think that the Apple Watch has the most to offer out of any smartwatch, whether you're using the Series 9, an Ultra, SE, or older versions. I am actually quite curious to know how many of you maybe don't have an Apple Watch and are considering getting one for the first time, who's considering upgrading, and who's continuing to hold on to the same model you have now. So please drop a comment down below and let me know. That's it for me today. I hope you found this video useful or entertaining. If you did, feel free to hit that like button. If you want to see more tech-related content or help create the Catalina wine mixer, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.